This is my 2008 GMC 2500. It's gas powered, 6 liter. And I had, when I first bought it, had that bed on it. But then I found out it was actually a cab and chassis. So the spare tire area was cut out. So for a couple of years now, probably 2.5 years, I've had a service body on it. But I found both with that bed, there was issues that, the truck is so tall that it was hard getting in from the side and getting into the bed. And the service body was nice because I could keep a lot of stuff in there, but stuff I don't use all the time, so it's a waste of space. And I can't get a 4x8 sheet of plywood or a 4-foot wide anything in there because it's about 47 inches wide, the opening inside for the particular bed that I had. So I think I'm going to try a flatbed. So we are going to do a flatbed build. Of course, I've watched a bunch of YouTube and seen what people like and don't like and how I'm going to use it. So I've kind of designed something up, and we'll see how it works. So these are the main supports for the flatbed. There's they're 2x4. I'll explain why in a minute. I think they're 1/8 inch wall. And then those are the front and the back. You have the ones that go along the frame, and then the two that go on the outside. And I also have a bunch of 2x2 that goes in here. And the reason I'm doing that is of course I've been watching YouTube, and I've always wanted a gooseneck. So I actually have a Gooseneck Adapter, which I'll show you later in the video. So I have a Gooseneck Adapter to mount in here. And so I used the taller tubes, and what I'm going to do is have 2x2, the pieces that go inside the frame between those 2x4s is 2x2, but it's a 1/4 inch wall, so that'll give me strength. And then I'll use plates down to here to actually bolt the bed on, and of course I'll still use the points in the front and the back. But that'll give me all my strength and structure and diagonals and all kinds of stuff that I have designed. But right now I'm just cutting the first piece, which goes across here, and I'm going to put it in the existing mounting holes for the bed, but I have to space it up 1/2 inch because of the rivets. So I am not going to grind down rivets or change anything. So they're about 3/8 tall, so I'm going to make some threaded posts out of 1-inch solid bar, put a 1/2-13 hole in them, and then I will weld those in through the tube and have them stick out about 1/2 inch. And of course just have a small hole on the top of the tube, so the 1-inch bar will come up, and then I can weld that in place, and that'll keep it nice and sturdy. So we'll get started on that now. And this is the other, I guess, leftover pieces and little pieces for the flatbed. So I just had everything cut at the steel yard, made everything so it's basically whatever width I wanted, about 8 foot long. So then I just got 2 sheets of diamond plate. There's the leftovers, and had them cut to the width, and then I just tack weld them the two this way, and that'll give me my 8-foot bed. So we're back on the flatbed today. Forgot my camera yesterday, so kind of catch you up over what I got done so far. So I tacked the basic part of the frame together. So just the front, the 2 frame rails, the rear, and then of course just to support front and back, keep the frame rails the right width. And then I needed to start working on how to mount it. So I went ahead and drilled, took a 1-inch hole on the bottom side, did probably 3/4 on top, and what I'll do is take a solid piece of stock and I'll push up through there, get a 1/2-13 tap that'll run at about 1.5 inches, and I'll plug weld this on this side to keep it nice and strong. Got those on both sides, and then I just started making mounts. So that is I guess the second mount on the driver's side, and I just came up with this little mount that uses the same mounting location, just slotted it in case I need to move it side to side a little bit. And then I put 4 plug weld holes in it, so that should hold that quite well, and it works good on both sides. And then I found the axle centerline, which on the bed is 51.5, and then I had to move this bar so to just simulate where it's at, and then in here in the center will be where my mount is for my gooseneck. So because this area is going to have a lot of stress to it, I took some of the original holes that was in the frame itself. I just used some 16 gauge scrap that I had laying around and made that up. So I got 4 bolts, and then I'll just plug weld these through. And in the back I did the same thing. So some holes that I had the previous bed mounted with, and then made some plug welds. So I did them out of that, because 3/16 is what I'm going to use for all the plating. That's kind of expensive. So I can make my mistakes here, like these holes are too small, so I moved them up on the drawing, and same thing with the other plate. But get all my holes worked out. So now I'm going to go in and add the other bars up here, maybe add the side rails, and make up the rest of the mounts in 3/16. Then I'll put it back on, just drill some little 1/8 inch holes for clecos, and then I can take it back off again and mount all the mounting system up. Then we'll start working on the headache rack and putting the bars across here, fill their neck hole, things like that. But so far so good. So when I purchased this truck, it's a GMC, but it had a Chevrolet Silverado bed on it, and I knew that it had been a unfinished vehicle, so it came just basically cabin chassis. Well, whoever had it before me cut out where the spare tire goes. So what I think I'm going to do is mount on the bottom of this bed once I get all the tubes and stuff in, make a bracket or something. And I have a couple Suburbans that I parked out, and I'm going to use the spare tire carrier, the factory one, and mount it to that so I can put my tire up under here. I wanted to slide it in from the back, but don't have quite enough location in here to mount it, and I think I'm going to take that tube and actually rest it just above the top. So when we get to that point, I'll show you what I want to look like. So I've been busy on the plasma cutter this morning. Got the center plate cut for the driver's side, so that it's just held in with the bolts. There's not even any nuts on the back side. And I got the driver's side rear mount, again just held in with 4 grade 8 bolts, 1/2 inch. And then on the driver's side, I got the center mount cut. As you can tell, changed the bolt pattern because there's no holes on this side. So I'll probably have to jack it up and drill those holes, but it's held in with a clamp right now, and I'll get to final position here in a little bit. But just to make sure all the holes will be easy to drill, so I'm happy with that. And then here is the passenger side rear mount. I got one hole I missed the location on, so I had to do it the old-fashioned way, drill it, but besides that, I'm happy with it. So those are all done. What I gotta do now is make one more mount here, and then I can take it off and start welding the rest of the bars in here, the outside bar on, and getting the front mount tubes put in. And what I plan on doing is bolting it down, getting everything centered, and then I'll put the plates on and do some Clecos to hold them in place exactly where they need to be. Tighten the bolts down first to make sure the positions are right, and get it permanently mounted. And then of course take it off and do all the final welding, because I don't want to pull that monster gas tank out, because yes, this is a 6-liter, so it's a gas engine, and I didn't think about pulling it all out tank wise, so I'm just pulling the bed off and putting it on a cart, wheeling it over to my welder and welding everything up. So we'll get ready to do that here in a minute. So I'm back from lunch, and I got the final piece made. Well, of the big mounts. This is the, of course, passenger side. So that mount is done. And as before, center mount, back mount, rear of the truck, driver's side rear mount, driver's side center mount, iced tea, driver's side intermediate mount. Now what I'm going to do is go do the 2 pieces of bar stock, 1-inch bar stock that I need for here, get those drilled and threaded. Then I can pop this off and start welding in pieces. Well, I got the 2 plugs done. That this is the top side, so they will actually go in this way. But I tapped them 12-13 and about at least an inch in. So each of them turned out 14-15 turns. So that means I've got more than an inch of thread engagement. So for a 1/2-inch bolt, I think the minimum is like a 1.5 times the diameter of the bolt. So we should have plenty of thread engagement. Use some nice, probably inch and a quarter grade 8s on those. So I'll get these set in the holes and get them tacked in. Well, I could just tacked them in, made sure they were nice and square, which they were, and then I went ahead and just put a little plug weld on them, and I'll come back later when I grind everything out before I put the plate on and grind that down. But first mount is on, and I'll weld the other side. I'm going to put some plates on there to space it up once I figure the final amount, but we'll weld some plates on this side, and I'll have a big enough hole for the post to sit through and the weld. So we'll get that done in a little bit, but right now let's put some more inner cross beams on. Well, I think I might be figuring this out. I always say the only way to really learn is to do a lot of welding, and I think I'm finally getting my technique where it needs to be. So I do have some boogers, but all in all, I'm very happy with that. So we have all of the cross members welded in. So this is the front where the bungs are. So we've got it welded all on the top side. So these are the central cross members, and then I just got to put on the beams for the outside and put on the cross members on this side. So got about another hour left to play, so let's see what we can get done. Well, there we have it, folks. You're looking at the front of the bed. It's up against the cab. So now I have these side rails on. Just use a couple of those stands that I've used on all kinds of things just to kind of hold them at the right height, and clamped them with plates top and bottom to make them flush. But I found out they have a little bit of a belly in them, so they're all good. So now everything on the top side is welded. So I will push it out of here for tonight, because it's about 5 o'clock and it's time to go home, have something to eat. And we'll put it back on the truck and start getting all the mounts fitted where they need to be. We'll just drill some 1/8-inch holes and put some Clecos in place to hold them where we want, so we can weld everything up in place back over here again. But very happy with the progress today, and we'll do some more tomorrow. We'll show you then. Well, I got the bolts in, so I had to cut some more spacers because I needed about 550 thousandths. These both posts stick out about 5/30. So now I've got the same spacers, front and rear, side to side, and the two front bolts, as you can see, just screwed in. Got a little bit of clearance side to side with a hole in the frame support there. So now I will start working my way back and putting more mounts on. Well, we have all the mounts on. Like that's just a big bolt, like it's 5/8. So everything's in there, clamped on. And what I did is tightened all these down, all the bolts down, and then made sure if you loosen one that it slides in and out. The only thing I've noticed is that I think my flatbed frame is about between a 16th and an 1/8 narrower than the truck frame. But I think these will flex enough once we get these all welded in place to slide it down on there. But give it a nice tight fit. This is the driver's side rear. Not perfectly aligned, but it's a work truck. This is the passenger side. Of course, that's the rear. And this is the one that has no holes in it. So I just aligned this edge, the inside of that tube, and that's pretty much how the other side is done. Got this one in place. So all the spacers are in place. The bed doesn't rock. So everything looks good so far. There's one thing I forgot to mention earlier. As I was prepping each tube, I actually cleaned everything with alcohol. And of course, deburr the edges so I don't cut myself. But that just makes it easier once it's all together to go ahead and do a final cleaning prep on it and getting it ready for paint. So it also helps with the welding. So all the tubes were prepped with alcohol. And then one other thing I'm going to talk about is I've got some lines on the frame here. And what I'm going to do is when I put the plate on, I'm going to cut a panel out, about this big, so I can change fuel pump, because this truck has 375 or 380,000 miles on it. Of course, it's got a different motor and transmission, all that's been rebuilt, rear end's rebuilt, but I've never changed fuel pump. So my luck, as everybody else's, is you get this all on here and then the fuel pump goes, and you have to pull the bed off. So just to make it easier for service, I'm going to put a hole in here so that we can change that in the future. So I got the first two mounts cleccoed on. So my air compressor has stopped running, so I figured it'd be a good time to show you. So this is the driver's side front, and this is, I guess, the mid plate. So I just put them in random spots. I'll probably weld over once I get everything all welded on, so that we don't get any water in the tubes. That's one thing I'm making sure of, is everything's welded tight so we don't get any water inside the tubes. But we'll go ahead and do the back one, and then we'll get the other side done. Well, the air compressor just finished up, and I just finished up. So this is the rear mount for the driver's side. Rear mount passenger side. The plate that I got to drill all the holes in, and the front mount. So we are done with all the mounting. So because I have to take this off and transport it way over there in the shop, I tend to try to get as many things together to weld. So since I got some time, I'm going to start doing the headache rack. So what I want to do is, I've got some 2x4, if I've got enough of it, go from here up like everybody else does, but I don't want mine to stick above the cab. I've got the lights that everybody uses in the flatbed. I think I've got enough of the decking left over from 2 4x8 sheets to put in here. Probably put on this side, maybe an upright here and upright over there, just to make sure I don't have any vision issues. And oh, I also have some expanded metal from a grill project I did, so I'll probably piece that in for the window. So go ahead and get that mocked up, laid out, and see what it looks like. So then I'm working with the truck right here, and this is what I've come up with a headache rack. So what I did was I put a 6-degree angle here, so it'll go up at 6 degrees, and a 14-degree angle there. So I just cut a V-notch in it and ground it until I got it to 14 degrees, so that I'll have 20 at the top. And I have no idea if I'm going to be able to make this camera worthy, but it's kind of how it looks, which I really, really like. So we'll make another one of these. Got all the dimensions and stuff. Got the height about where I want it. So yes, it's lousy camera work, but I'm just trying to show you what I see, and I see that I like it. So let's go make. Well, I got the 2 side pieces tacked together, and now I've got the, just using a 2x2 1/8" wall for the cross beam in the middle, and that's where it'll be diamond plate down here, and up here it'll be expanded metal. So because I didn't make any right angles, this thing was a bugger to get squared up. So I think I've got everything squared up now. So I think what I'm going to do is just tack this both ends really quick and check it on the truck and make sure it looks good, and then we'll cut the top piece. This is what it looks like from the front. So just a little bit where the roof curves at the top kind of sticks out, but the rest of it follows the body line really, really well. Kind of tucked in at the center, sticks out a little bit at the bottom, sticks out a little bit at the top. I think I'm comfortable with that. Here we have the concept, which I think I'll go ahead and use for the headache rack. It's literally just sitting on there, so must have got things fairly square. And I think from side to side it pretty much matches, and we're right at the edge of the rail on the bottom. You can see I tacked my tube in to hold position because the clamps wouldn't have worked, but I think it's the best I'm going to do without bending tubes, and I don't really want to do that. I wanted this bar here. You can see there's a, I don't know if you can see it or not, but the tinning runs right up to here, so I kind of use that line as a reference point. So I should have a nice clear window view, good space between the cap and the headache rack. So right now I'm calling that good. So what I think I'll do is take this back off and measure for the top bar, tack that in place, and do one last check. Then we'll weld it up here, or weld this piece together, and then when I get the main part of the bed back over to the welding area, I'll go ahead and weld that on. But just another piece. There we have it. We have the top tube tacked in. Actually, I got it welded really good on one side, but it's easy to cut off. I haven't put in these tubes yet, but I think I'll wait until I get the hoop mounted on the flatbed itself, and then I'll go ahead and put these in. I'm just going to put them even with these rails. So, of course, they won't be in anybody's sight, and I could extend them all the way up. Haven't decided yet if I want to run them from here to here, or from here to here and here to the top rail. So the next plans is I've got those oblong lights that everybody uses. Still out of breath, this thing's heavy. It's probably got to weigh 80 or 100 pounds. But what I'm going to do is make some plates so they look like gusset plates. That'll go up in the corner there and then have the 3 lights on each side. But that might be for tomorrow, because that was quite a bit of designing and setting up and trying to get straight. I'm very happy with it. So now I'm going to, I think there's a few, I want to get the spare tire mount in here, get that all designed up and put in so I can take it over there and weld it. And then after I weld like these mounts on, then I can go ahead and where I'm going to put these cross tubes. They can be in line with this, with each tube, but I might move these out a little bit. And as of course, this one will have to slide forward on each side a little bit. But yeah, happy with the progress of that today, and we will do some more tomorrow.